So when someone walks into my open house, when I'm actually sitting down with someone to do a buyer's consultation, even when I'm actually kind of trying to tie together some of the blurbs that I'm going to use in my scripting to entice a client to come meet with me, has everything to do with who I think their disc profile is in that moment. So disc profile, if you're not familiar with it, there's only 4 types of disc profiles. It's D-I-S-C. And I'll just briefly break down the disc profile, then I'm going to share with you how I actually use these to communicate with clients. In a separate video, I'm going to go in depth on each one of the 4 different archetypes of the disc profile to kind of help you understand best practices for writing emails to someone who's high D, best practices for text communication with someone who's a high I. It's incredibly helpful. But for now, let's just start with who these 4 individuals are. So the disc profile is basically breaking individuals down to either a D, I, S, or C. So we all have 1 or 2 of our more dominant characteristics or personality traits. D stands for dominance. These are the individuals that they kind of always want to choose the restaurant. They're the first to talk or the last or the first to answer. They want to be seen as a little bit more of alpha. Ds actually are concerned with what car they drive. They're the ones that are a little more concerned with status, how much you make, what job you have. You can probably kind of build whoever you think the golf pro is at some country club around a D type personality, and you're probably not too far off. I personalities are people who, it stands for influence. I's are people who are, they're a person waiting for a party to happen, right? They're the ones that always kind of want to be engaged. They're so excited to see everything. They live life with emojis and exclamation points. If you have a best friend who's an I, you are always having a good time. They're also the ones that just want to have an enjoyable process, right? From the real estate perspective, I's want to have a good time while buying a house. In fact, the number 1 reason why an I will stop looking at homes is because it stopped being fun. Then there's the S's. S's are stability. Almost 60% of the US population are S-type profiles. They're the ones that just want things to be stable. They want to know what's happening next. They don't want the boat to be rocked. They don't really want to upset anyone's feelings. They kind of want everyone to get along. And then there's your C's. C's are not to be confused with S's whatsoever. Although they are also people who want stability, they see stability in what they can control, right? The C is control. These are the ones that are more concerned from a real estate perspective about what the price per square foot is, what the property sold for in 2021, what the property taxes are, because they're not so concerned with how pretty the kitchen is. They're absolutely concerned with how acquiring this piece of real estate fits into their long-term wealth building plans. So can you just see that what you think is important in a home buying process and what someone who has maybe high C would consider to be important in the home buying process, they can be completely different. Let's say most real estate agents are actually high I's. Really, I's and D's are what make up the majority of our industry, mostly because S's want stability. They want a steady paycheck, and C's are too compliant. Everything we do is all over the map, all across the board. But your clients are one of those 4. And so if you're a high I personality, you're just having fun, you just are always showing up, excited to see the family and the kids, you're high-fiving the little ones, and the significant other, maybe the wife is a C personality, and she keeps asking you questions like, what's the price per square foot in this home? And your response is, but isn't the backyard great? You're quickly losing credibility with her because you're not communicating with her the way she needs to be communicated with. It doesn't matter that you think all of these other things are important. It might be the steal of a lifetime. You might have actually found them an off-market deal where they're going to save so much money. But if she actually asks you, what's the square footage of the lot, and you don't know the answer, you're losing credibility with her. I will tell you this about C's, though. They're accustomed to people not knowing the things that are important to them. So the way you win with a C isn't necessarily to have the answer, but is to tell them when you will get them the answer. When a high C says to me, what's the lot size of this property? My response has always been, I don't actually know, but I can see that's important to you. I will get you that information and send it to you at 8 o'clock tonight. In fact, I'm making a note in my phone. Oh, that's exactly how you speak the love language to a high C. So just knowing that, right? Like knowing the 4 different disc profiles, it's so very important. And the way it starts is you actually have to know your own. If you don't know what your own disc profile is, you don't actually know what you're putting out there or projecting. If you don't know that you're a high D personality, I'm a DI, and I just say it kind of depends on the day when I wake up, which for my friends and coworkers, it's horrible because someday I'm all about don't talk to me, just give me the alpha answer. And other days I'm like, oh, tell me about your weekend, and they never know what they're gonna get, and I don't really either, so I just kind of go with it now. See a high D, I don't really care. So a high D personality is not concerned with being your friend. They're not trying to impress you, but they're also not thinking about being your friend. So if you're a real estate agent and you're a high I, you're thinking this is all about likability. So if a high I real estate agent was working with me who's a high D now, they're gonna be really uncomfortable and probably piss us both off. Because I'm actually not in this to make a friend. So if you tell a joke, I don't feel the need to laugh. Why? Because I don't feel like this transactional relationship between a real estate agent and me requires laughter in that moment. But if you're a high I as an agent and you're trying to win me over and I don't laugh at your joke, what are you gonna do next? You're gonna try twice as hard to get me to laugh at the next joke, right? It's so to thy own self be true. Get to know your disc profile, and then you also get to know what your weaknesses are. And so you don't know just because you met someone for 45 minutes. It's hard to actually tell what their disc profile is. But I'm always putting people in boxes, right? So let's just say I met one individual. I met one of the spouses, probably the high I. It's a high I and a high D couple. I met the high I at an open house because she just showed up there. And I set the buyer's consultation. So they both show up. And right away, she's like all friendly and nice. And so I'm communicating to her like I would a high I. Oh, it's so good to see you. Did you find us all right? Were you able to get the kids secure? Did your mother have to come watch them like you said they were? Or were you able just to go straight from work to here? I do not carry that tone, that conversation into the other spouse. First of all, I don't actually know they're a D yet. I don't know who they are, but I'm not going to squander my opportunity on a just met to try just to assume that they want to be friendly P's and Q's like everyone else. And so I'm going to keep a really neutral but short and brief communication style with them and let them reveal to me over the course of that buyer's consultation or the home tour or whatever capacity you're engaging with them, what their disc profile is. I know this sounds unique, and maybe this is the part in the video where you're like, I get this, I'm going to move on. But let me tell you, don't. Like, really listen to this. Do not engage overtly with an individual when you don't know what their disc profile is, because you don't actually have the ammunition to recover if you misstep. You see, if you're an experienced agent with 7, 8, 10 years of experience and you misstep, you get someone kind of wrong, you begin to kind of pigeonhole, maybe you communicate with them in a way you don't think that you should be communicating with. That's okay, because not all of us have someone that communicates with us all the time like we would want to. But if you're communicating with me inappropriately and you're a new agent, I'm going to say, first of all, this guy doesn't get me, and second of all, they don't know what they're doing. If the answer is, this guy doesn't get me, but I guess our friends and family have used him, he's been in real estate for a dozen years, I'll tolerate him. You're not at that point where they're going to tolerate you, so you can't afford to misstep. So you have to get to know their disc profile. And so the way to do that is just to shut up more and ask more questions, which is really your job in the first place, right? The way they answer the questions, the way that they just kind of respond, they're going to tell you what's important to them. If you say, it was wonderful getting to know your spouse, I'm so happy that we're actually sitting here in the buyer's consult, but I first have to ask you, what's important in the home to you? A D profile is going to say brief staccato answers. I want 4 beds, 2 baths. I want the house to be grand. I kind of see it being majestic. I kind of want to be the nicest house on the block. I want when people come over with them to feel like, I want like double doors. Those are the kind of things D's say. That's not bad. I'm a D. I mean, that's kind of the stuff that I want in a house. I mean, it's important to me that I have a house that impresses my friends. It's important to you, different things. But to a D, that's the kind of things that they want. And so you can just kind of pick up on them, what they're saying. And then when you know their disc profile, then you can kind of feed into it. Oh yeah, I can see how having people over, they'll be really impressed with this regal entryway. Like that's the kind of ammunition you don't just use right there at the buyer's consult, but you're saving that for when you're touring homes because now you know how to kind of talk to this high D. You kind of get what I'm going for here? So you're using the buyer's consultation. You're just mining for gold, mining for gold, mining for gold. You just met the wife. She had a delightful time. You say the same thing to the significant other, the spouse. You say, I've had a great time getting to know your spouse at the open house when I met her. But what's important in you to the home? Well, it has to be in the University Place School District. I really don't want to go above $4,800 a month on my total payment. I believe from my research, what I found online, I can still get a 1/4 acre lot. Okay, so what does that sound like? when an individual talks like that, they're a C, right? Like that's a C type personality. Just the question, just the whole way they're engaging. And if they happen to be an engineer, it's even more like just nailing it to a key. So getting to know their DISC profile. So let's just say I'm feeling a little bit uncomfortable. I'm feeling like I don't really have this piece of closed business. My default, if I'm a high I, is to try to win them over with laughter and jokes and get them to like me. But that's not how you win over a C. Like, you listen to them and you say, okay, I understand that. So let me just ask you this. Your total monthly payment is $3,800. Have you actually kind of factored in that property taxes are going to go up maybe 7% a year? Now, I don't even know if that's true or not, but if you actually say that to a C-type personality, they're probably going to lean over the table and kiss you, right? Like, oh, this guy speaks my language. He actually gets it. They get what's important to me. Like, and so that's just a great little tool you can have in your arsenal for communicating well with the high C. In this other video, I don't want to make this one too long, I'm gonna just break down quickly how to text with the D, I, S, and C, how to email, and then how to interface. But for now, it's just important that you know this DISC profile is very real. You need to know what your DISC profile is so you know what your strengths and your weaknesses is. Now let me just share with you a little bit about your strengths and your weaknesses. Knowing your DISC profile helps you know where you go in your fight or flight response. So I'm a DI, so as I said, when I was uncomfortable, I couldn't tell what was going to come out, my fight or my flight, and I had to be wary against both. See, sometimes I'd feel uncomfortable. I'd feel like the client wasn't really like paying attention. We weren't really doing things. I just get kind of annoyed. My D would want to come out, and I have to go like, oh, no, Andy, you can't be the boss of this individual. But knowing that that was my propensity helped me actually stay away from those triggers, like not say things that would actually kind of like touring homes and the house wasn't the right fit and we just hadn't moved on yet. I would sometimes say things like, all right, this isn't one we're going to buy. We might as well move on to the next. Because that's what a D will say. That's actually what the spouse should say. But I couldn't say that. So knowing that, you know what, it's 5 p.m. I've been touring home since 12. I'm hungry. I'm in that space of mind where my D is going to come out more and more. I have to actually work harder to keep my S face going. I hope this helps.